my wife and I, we were doing ministry in Odessa, Texas, and we had this passion to plant a life-giving, gospel-centered church back on the East Coast. And all of our family was on the East Coast. We were from the East Coast, and we were longing to be back. One day, a dear friend of mine, Pastor Scott Yerka of Hibernia Baptist Church, he called me and he said, "Have you and your wife, Erin, ever considered planting a church here in the Jacksonville area?" And I told him, I said, "This is crazy because for the past 9 to almost 12 months, we have been praying about planting a life-giving, gospel-centered church on the East Coast." And he said, "Would you consider coming and being on staff with me for a couple of years? And after a green light, we will send you out and support you to go and plant the church that God has put in you and Erin's heart." And so in 2020, I accepted the position to go and be on staff at Hibernia Baptist Church. And it was a great experience, and I absolutely loved my time there. And after a year and a half of building teams and everything there, got the green light to plant Mission City Church. Some of the greatest resources that my wife and I have received was the coaching and the mentorship and all of the training that have been provided to us from First Coast Churches after the launch of our church. Just recently, we walked through a staff transition that was a very keystone staff position, and mostly because we had philosophical differences in leadership. And it wasn't going to work. It was two different philosophies and pretty much visions for the direction of our church. And truly, as I've reflected back on this story and this situation, there are things that I could have been better at communicating, things that I could have done better as a leader. And so this has been a huge growing moment for me as we've navigated some of the challenges of starting a young church, and again, as myself being a young pastor. Whenever you're going through difficulties and challenges in pastoral ministry, and especially when it comes to staff transitions, there's emotions in it, and it makes it really hard. And now as I've looked back, I just see the grace of God and the Holy Spirit throughout the whole thing. His hand was just interwoven throughout all of the details. And for us, He provided First Coast Churches. And First Coast Churches, they stepped in. They provided specific coaching for our leadership structure. They even met with myself and elders. They helped us figure out, how do we communicate this to the church? And in a way that, again, is grace-filled and truthful. And they really have helped us, not just me as the pastor, but the stress was also on my wife. They provided support and even resources to just encourage her and let her know that she is not alone. Church planners, you know that you're the one that's called to set the vision and the values for your church. But there's so many other things that as you start the church that start grabbing and pulling at your attention, and the very vision and the values that you're supposed to be ingraining in your church can actually start to become the peripheral. See, having a network of other pastors and leaders that you can go to who can help resource you for all these other things so that you can focus on the main thing of reaching people, making disciples, setting, in other words, that vision and values for your church. You need that just like I need that, and that's exactly what First Coast Churches provide, and that's why we say, don't pastor alone.